Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And game one of the preseason is officially in the books. The Dallas Cowboys took on the LA Rams in their first preseason game. We got a lot to talk about from that game, some good, some bad. We're going to break down every position tonight, tell you what I saw from watching the all 22 a couple of times, by the way. I'm going to give you guys some notes on what I think, some things we can look forward to, some positions that are concerning, and just overall general conversation about the game and the future of the team. So we have a pretty full show today. I'm still going to try to get you guys out of here in about an hour. So let's get the people coming in real quick. I see already that we have quite a few people joining us from X tonight. So thank you to all of our X viewers who are joining us. If you guys get a chance, make sure one day you come over to YouTube or to Facebook so that you can get in the comments and I can hear you guys' thoughts on all the topics that we discuss. So while I brought up X, for those of you who are not watching yet, DC4L has not trickled in yet, but it looks like most of you guys are watching from X and YouTube. Be sure to check out the DC4L Facebook group. That is DC4L. They are the sponsors of this podcast. A lot of great content, a lot of great dialogue. They keep you up to date on all things Dallas Cowboys whenever something is released. DC4L group is going to be one of the first ones to post it. We don't do spam topics, so you're not going to get inaccurate information. We try to vet and filter as much as possible before we put things out there. We do have a safe space for Cowboys fans to talk about Cowboys topics. We don't allow any bullying, don't allow any hate speech. So unlike some of these other Cowboys groups, we are definitely on top of the conversation. So you're able to come in there with your frustrations. You're able to relay your frustrations, but we do not allow fans to bully or attack one another. Also, we got some fantasy football teams. We do have a couple of spaces still open. So if you guys would like to play fantasy football, if you haven't done so before, or you think you're a seasoned vet and you're one of the best, step into the DC4L Facebook group. We have some very competitive fantasy football teams ranging from $10 per league all the way up to $250 per league. Every league has an amazing prize. I believe the $10 league may have some replica jerseys. The $250 league will have authentic jerseys, signed helmets, all types of great things. I know we got Jeff in the comments. Appreciate you joining us. I think Jeff has won 2 out of 3 years, and I think he has an autographed CD Lamb jersey, if I'm not mistaken. And he also has an autographed Cowboys helmet, and I believe it's signed by 2 or 3 players, if I'm not mistaken. Jeff, correct me in the comments. So there are some great prizes in there. Also, I have my own fantasy football league. I've been hosting it for the past 5 years. It's mainly myself and a few of the podcasters and diehard Cowboys fans. I see we got Charlie with Establish the Pass in the comments. Thank you for joining us, Charlie. He's a part of my fantasy football league. Jeff's also a part of the fantasy football league as well. We have 2 more. So you have a signed Lamb jersey and a helmet. Gotcha. So we have 2 more spots open in my fantasy football league. There is there's no entry fee. It's completely sponsored by me, and the winner will get $100. We do have a viewer who's a regular on the show who joined last year, and he actually won the fantasy football league, and he is returning this year. We have 2 more spots open. All that we ask are that, one, you are an average to above average fantasy football player, because all of us are very experienced in this group. And number 2, you're going to be active. We do not like to have inactive fantasy football teams in our league. I see Ray Dean is already stepping up. So Ray Dean, if you like to play and you're interested, just send me a DM after the show and I'll check it out, and then we can get you signed in. We're gonna have our draft in about 2 weeks, so we still got 2 spots left. So if anybody would like to claim one of those spots, feel free to hit me up and we can try to make that happen. Last but not least, I see those views are starting to grow. Got quite a few people joining from the Bluff City Cowboys page. So thank you guys for that. For those of you watching from the Bluff City Cowboys page, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit that bell to be up to date on all of the videos and content that I'll be posting, as well as those of you watching from X and Facebook. If you haven't done so already, take a few seconds, go to YouTube, type in Bluff City Cowboys, hit that subscribe button. All right, I think that's all the housekeeping we got for tonight. So let's go ahead and step into the show. Special Potion, thank you for popping your head in for a few minutes. You've been a regular for a few weeks, so thank you for that. Good luck on your calculus test that you got coming up. I'm a math guy myself. I remember those days of studying for calculus test, so I wish you well. Let's see who else we got in the comments. We got Jeff, we got Charlie, we got Ray Dean. We also have Russell Dyer joining us. Thank you for joining us, Russell Dyer. Appreciate you tuning in. For those of you watching from Facebook and YouTube, don't forget, this show is fueled by the Fifth Quarter Nation. So get in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on what we're talking about. If you have any questions, let us know where you're from, how long you've been a Cowboys fan, all that good stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. The Cowboys played the Rams week 1 of preseason. I've watched the All 22 twice so far. And for those of you watching, I know a lot of you guys already do. I would strongly suggest that you guys pay the $99 for a year to get access to the All 22. It'll completely change the way that you view the game. When you see podcasters talking and they're talking about they watch the tape, they're not watching real tape. They're watching the All 22, which is a good method of learning more about the game. It allows you to see the field in a way that you can't see about watching the regular game video. You can actually see who gets beat and who wins. You can see kind of the play develop. You can see the thought process. You can see who was out of place. It also, for me, it accentuates what I call the blinking lights. So if you see a run play and it goes for 9 yards, if you're watching on the live game, everybody's going to say it was the D tackle's fault because that's the first line of defense. If you're watching the All 22, you can kind of see how the defensive line moves, how the linebackers move, who's supposed to fill a certain gap, what is the safety's responsibility, who's supposed to contain. A lot of that stuff is obvious when you're watching All 22. And on the offensive side of the ball, you can see the progression of the offensive line and who was supposed to pick up a double team, who slid the wrong way, which receiver ran the wrong route that made the quarterback hold the ball longer than he was supposed to. It's a lot of stuff that you can see from the All 22. So even if you don't have the knowledge to really understand what you're looking at, you can just look at it and you will easily pick it up once you start watching All 22. So I just wanted to put that out there for you guys who are diehard Cowboys fans. One more thing. Before we get into the preseason talk, I want to say, and I think Charlie may have brought this up first, but I'm sure there won't be any overreaction. I know we love the Cowboys. I know we like to see them win every time they're on the field. Preseason is not about winning and losing. Preseason is about player development and player analysis. The scoreboard means nothing. If a team's doing good, that's great. But I would probably say if you're watching 22 players on a team on offense and defense, maybe 5 of those guys are going to contribute during the regular season. So it's great if, for example, the Patriots beat somebody 48-18. That's great, high morale. But I can assure you that less than half of those players who are on the Patriots in that game probably won't be on the roster, won't be in the NFL in September. And if they are in the NFL, they're going to be 3rd or 4th string guys. So I just wanted to put that out there. This is about player development and player analysis. If the Cowboys won the game and we look like trash on the offensive line, I would be upset. I could care less about the win. If the Cowboys lost, but a guy like Phil Maffa showed me that he's an NFL player. A guy like Zion Childress showed me that he's capable of playing safety and corner, and he's a willing tackler, and he understands concepts. Those are the positives I'm taking out of the game. Fairweather, I thought he was just a raw player. Those traits really stood out. Let's go ahead and get into it because I'm already starting with my player analysis. So let's go ahead. We'll go offense, and we'll take it position by position, kind of like we did with the position breakdown we did for the past 9 weeks. So we'll go offense, and then we'll go over to defense. So let's go ahead and get into it. I know we got a lot of fans in here who watched all 22 and who understand the game, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of you guys' feedback as well about what you saw. So let's start first at the quarterback position. I think you don't need the all 22 to see what we all saw. Joe Milton was shaky at best. He was inaccurate. He had absolutely no touch on his throws. If he threw a 3-yard comeback or a 45-yard bomb, everything was as hard as he could throw it. He was throwing consistently without planting his feet. And if you saw the overthrow to Ryan Flournoy for a touchdown, you saw the overthrow to, I believe that was Jalen Tolbert on that crossing route, that completely inaccurate throw in the red zone that got intercepted, the underthrow to Mingo that could have gone for a touchdown, the overthrow to Schoonmaker that could have been intercepted, but it was tipped. There were a lot of bad plays in there. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt because as the game progressed, he did make some decent throws. I mean, the touchdown to Fairweather in the corner of the end zone was a great throw. The 2-point conversion to Josh Kelly, while it was basically off his back foot, still a good throw. That just shows the level of his arm strength. He definitely put the arm strength on display. I'll give him that. I was disappointed that he did not use his mobility more in this game to give himself some better reads. I'm a little bit more disappointed that the offensive coordinator didn't incorporate any bootlegs or play actions consistently to get him on the move. Because on the other side of the field, the Rams were consistently running bootlegs, and they were getting guys open left and right. But I didn't put grades for each position, but I'll give you guys my grades. Jeff says mechanics can be taught. They can be, but we're at week 1 of the preseason. hard to teach. I mean, you could turn the tape on and show him. It's really up to him to improve. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he improves in week 2. And Jeff, you make a great point. The OC may have done it on purpose because of not wanting to show film. That's a good point also. But when you got a quarterback who's 6'4", 230 and runs a 4.5, I don't think you have to hide the tape. People are expecting him to run. And I think they did not do him any favors by allowing him to do a couple of manufactured run plays or some bootlegs to help him make some easy throws. I mean, they did do it later in the second quarter and third quarter, and he was making some good throws off of that. But I felt like that's something they should have started the game off with instead of just letting him stay in the pocket and try to read. But definitely was improving as the game went. I would probably give him C+. The second half was definitely a lot better than the first half. I'm going to, again, give him the benefit of the doubt. First game jitters, first time playing in live action, and maybe it was nerves. We'll find out in week 2. And another thing before I move on, eventually they're going to start butchering him for his smiling and seeming like he's not taking it serious, even though we know he is. But eventually the media is going to start to attack him because of his demeanor. But all that stuff, I think, could be worked out, just like Jeff said. Baron Young says, F the preseason, he talk about Jerry being an idiot. Well, this show is only an hour, Baron Young. So we could talk about Jerry for the rest of the night. I'm not going to jump into it because that'll open up a whole nother can of worms. Maybe I'll do a special show on Friday and we can talk more about Jerry and the premiere of the Netflix special and all the other Jerry Jones stuff. Baron Young says, you know he can run, but you need to know he can pass. That's a quarterback. I'm not saying he doesn't need to pass it. I'm saying he's a mobile quarterback. You need to put him in his element to give him easier throws. I'm saying get him moving so that you can open up passing lanes. If you go back and watch the Rams and how they ran their offense, their quarterback isn't nearly as mobile as Joe Milton. And they were consistently doing bootlegs to get him along on the edge and giving him dump off passes to the tight ends and the running backs and deep crossers to the receivers. So I'm all about putting good tape out there. We know he's a runner. I'm not asking him to run wildcat or read option, but let's get him on the move a little bit and let's put him in situations where he has to scramble for 3 or 4 yards just to build up on positive plays. That could be me nitpicking, but when I have a quarterback who runs a 4.5, I expect to see him being a little bit more mobile in the pocket. All right, so let's go to the next position, and that would be offensive line. Now, again, when you're watching footage, everybody sees something different. So my perspective may not be the same as the perspective of another podcast or another person who's watching. When I watched the game, I thought the offensive line played extremely well. In particular, Nathan Thomas at left tackle. I think he only played about 20 snaps. I can actually pull that up right now to confirm. Nathan Thomas played. Give me 1 second. I'm scrolling. Nathan Thomas played 10 snaps. Of those 10 snaps, I don't think I saw a bad rep through any of them. Now, that's a positive, considering he missed the entire season, and this was his first actual time playing in an NFL game. If I were to critique him a little bit, you can see that lack of athleticism in his game. He doesn't have the best feet. He's more of a stomper than a nimble guy. When he comes out of his pass sets, his hands go wide like this. And if you're playing against a good defensive end who's gonna come right here and get you in your shoulder pads or give you the one arm and knock you off balance, that could be an issue. But from what I saw this game, I thought he played extremely well, and I think he's only gonna progress from there. So I'm going left to right basically. When he came out of the game and Awesome Richards came in, it was night and day. Richards was surprisingly bad considering the good game film that we saw last year in limited snaps. He was consistently getting beat off the line. And he was able to recover for the most part, but I did not expect to see him just be consistently beat off the line the way he was. And then when Richards went out, and I don't even know who Christian is, but I hope he does not play another game because he was awful. When the offensive line started to regress later in the game, it was because they put Christian in at left tackle. Richards was bad, but Christian was awful. Nah, he's definitely going to make the team. We don't have a lot of left tackle options. I think he's definitely going to make the team. Baron Young saying, I think Will should be the number 2 quarterback behind Dak and give Milton some work in special plays. You never know what's going to happen during the regular season, but Baron Young, I see you just joined the show. What I said at the beginning of the show, preseason is for player development and player analysis. We know what Will Greer is. He was here all last year. He's been in the league 5 years. We don't know what Joe Milton is. He played 1 year for the Patriots. He was the 3rd string quarterback, and we traded for him in the offseason, and he's only done a couple of snaps. So you have to put him in the game to see what you have with real bullets flying. So I think that's why you saw more of Joe Milton than Will Greer, but that's not necessarily to say the team has Joe Milton as the backup quarterback right now. I would probably guess if the season started tomorrow, Will Greer would be the backup and Joe Milton would be the emergency guy. Let's see. We'll go left to right again. So at left guard, it was Brock Hoffman and TJ Bass. They kind of switched. The first half, it was Brock Hoffman at center, TJ Bass at guard. And then surprisingly, the second half, they moved Bass to center and they moved Hoffman to guard. Now, I will say it was obvious that Bass hasn't played a lot of center because he was much better at guard than he was at center. He wasn't terrible, but they were playing against second and third string guys at that point, and he wasn't consistent. I'll say that. So I like the experiment. I know we lost Dakota Shepley to injury, so we do need to get a number 3 center. So I guess it's good that they're looking in-house. And Bass is an athletic guy, smart guy. So I think he can make the transition. I just want to put it out there. I think we're good at guard. Center, I think we're good with our top 2. If Bass has to play center, we probably have some problems. But I'm glad to see, again, player development, player analysis. Throw Bass in at guard, throw him in at center, see what he can do. But him and Hoffman were both very good at guard. At center, Hoffman played very well also. He got to show a lot more of his nastiness when he played guard than he did at center. Because when he was playing guard, he was pancaking people and stepping on them and all kind of dirty playing to the last breath of the whistle type stuff. But center, very solid. I see we got Lee Harrison joining us. Thank you for joining. I'll put a pin next to your comment. We'll get to that once we get to corner. Yeah, I like Bass a lot also. I mean, there was nothing in that game that made me say we're going to have some issues in the interior of the offensive line. So that's center and guard. Let's go to right guard, Sadiq Charles. It was obvious that Sadiq Charles has been a starter in the NFL. I would say he probably was the best. He was the second best offensive lineman on the field behind Hoffman. He played pretty much the whole game. They started to shuffle stuff in the second half, but in the first half, Sadiq Charles was really good. He was great in his pass sets. He was pushing the nose tackles off the line. He was doing great combo blocks with the center. He was getting to the second level. If you paid attention to the game, a lot of those big runs from Maffa on the right side of the offensive line, a lot of that is because Sadiq Charles was doing his job. Last but not least, we have to talk about that right tackle position. So, again, the tale of two halves. The first half, I think his name's Adonaji. He played well. He got beat a couple of times, but the rest of the pocket was so good that Joe Milton was able to avoid his rusher and kind of step up and make throws. Again, testament to Bass, Hoffman, and Charles. They gave Joe Milton a clean pocket the entire game when they were in the interior. He got beat a couple of times, but Joe was able to step up, step around, make a play. When he came off the game and Cornelius came in, I think Jeff touched on this a minute ago. He reminded me of that tackle that got Dak killed versus the Falcons. It was pretty close to that. Again, the rest of the offensive line played well. The running game was humming. So he didn't really kill us a lot, but he does not look like an NFL tackle. I would hope next week they put him at guard because he had bad feet. He had bad hands. His pass sets was bad. He was letting guys beat him on the inside and on the outside. He wasn't good anywhere. And I hope they make an adjustment on that. So next position we're going to talk about is the running back position. And man, was I impressed with this position. So Deuce Vaughn with his 3 snaps and 1 run. It was a solid run. Got positive yardage, outside run. But the one who really impressed me was Phil Maffa. So if you guys remember our draft breakdown, I was pretty hard on Phil Maffa. I mean, watching him in college, he ran straight up. He didn't have any wiggle. It was pretty much he just hit a hole and went through it and showed a little bit of explosiveness, but he got a running start. I thought he was just a stiff, straight line runner. He showed me he's a lot more than that at 230 pounds. He has great feet in the box. He had a couple of runs where he would step into one hole and give a stutter and then step out and cut to the opposite side of the field. He had a couple of runs where he showed some patience, where he got to the line, waited for the hole to develop, and then got positive yards. He made a couple of catches, which I never saw him do in college. I think he had 3 catches this game. So he showed a lot of versatility. He showed some explosiveness. He had a couple of plays where he actually got to the outside and got 6 or 7 yards. He got denied on one of his goal line runs, Baron Young saying that, when we had the illegal shift on Richards and then another illegal shift on Richards. So we went from 1st and goal at the 1 to 1st and 20 because we got 2 back-to-back penalties after a Maffa 9-yard run down to the 1-yard line. And if they would have reviewed it, it would have probably been a touchdown. So I love everything Phil Maffa showed me. He checked every box that I had against him. He got positive yards. He ran to the outside. He was good in the box. He showed great feet, and he caught the ball. And he was solid in pass blocking as well. So I want to give him credit. A+ game. Miles Sanders may want to get healthy because Phil Maffa's going to make this a tough decision if he continues to grow off of this game. I know the stats are going to say 10 rushes for 39 yards, but he showed a lot this game. It was much better than what the stat sheet showed. And I know the Twitterverse was just all praises to Malik Davis, which I don't want to take anything away from him. They signed him on Tuesday. He played Friday. And he played Saturday. Had 63 yards. All amazing. Those stats were a lot of fool's gold. He probably got about 59 of those 63 yards on that last drive when the Rams were up 14 points and the defensive line was just pinning their ears back and rushing the passer, and the linebackers were bailing to cover the zones because they knew the Cowboys had to pass it. I think the Cowboys ran like 2 draw plays back to back, and Malik Davis may have got like 30 yards on those 2 draw plays. And then he had another long run for about 15 more yards. So if you go back and really watch the game, probably 80 to 90% of his yardage came on 4 plays on that last drive. Again, I don't want to take anything away from him because he did show some explosiveness, but let's not act like this was the first quarter and he was breaking off long runs on 1st and 10 when they're expecting a run. The Rams were basically just allowing them to run the clock out because once Dallas scored that touchdown, the Rams got 1 first down, they took a knee. So it's not like they were afraid of letting the team run all over them. Let's see. Jeff asked the question, so if Maffa makes the team, does he play special teams? So I need to show you. I'll show you guys this at the end of the show, but you guys know I'm a big special teams guy, and there's a sheet that comes out with every game that's just a wealth of knowledge. So at the end of the show, I'm gonna go through NFL.com and show you guys how to find this sheet. So Jeff asked the question about Maffa and special teams. Phil Maffa played no special teams on Saturday, Jeff. That's a little bit concerning for the 4th running back. Great question. He played no special teams. So to me, and I talk about this all the time because special teams matter, especially if you're the 4th running back, 4th tight end, 4th safety, 6th wide receiver. You have to play special teams because I don't care how amazing you are at your position on offense or defense. If you're not playing special teams, you're not touching the field. So I would say Maffa's gone a long way to making this competitive in terms of the running back 2 position. To me, he has to become running back 2 to make this team because they're not cutting blue. They could possibly cut Sanders or Williams. So if Maffa keeps playing consistent like this, I could see a situation where a Miles Sanders gets cut, which, by the way, I think he's probably going to get cut, but that's a talk for the 53-man roster show. He's going to get cut. And then the question is, do they bring him back after they put all their guys on the PUP list, or do they put him on the practice squad? So that's kind of where Maffa is right now. Can he beat out Miles Sanders for that 4th running back spot? Or can he do enough to convince them to keep 4 running backs. Baron Young says, I hope he gets signed to a team, but he won't make ours. If he continues to build off of what he showed last week, he's definitely going to be on somebody's roster. At 6'2", 230, showed the ability to catch the ball, showed he can run between the tackles, showed that he can run outside the box. He's going to be on somebody's roster for sure. Baron Young says Williams is the starter. Blue 2, Maffa will be 3, but won't be special. If he beats out Miles Sanders, I can't disagree with you on that one. I actually think he'll probably be running back 2 because I don't think Blue's a very good pass blocker, and Maffa kind of showed me he can do that. So I could see Maffa being 2 and leapfrogging Blue, but Blue may be the one who gets the most snaps in the game, if that makes sense. Yeah, I'll be honest. Davis has no shot at making this team. Absolutely no shot. Great first game. He has no shot at making this roster. All right, let's go to the tight end position. And pretty much what I said about Maffa, the same thing applies to this tight end position. Wow. Rivaldo Fairweather. If you guys watched the undrafted free agent show, I was harsh on this kid. He's a raw player. Didn't look like a good route runner. He just had long arms and traits. In this game, he was explosive off the line of scrimmage. He's a very smooth runner in open space. His routes look very fluid. So when he was releasing and the safeties were trying to read him, he was able to just cut and go to the corner, cut and run the post, cut and run the out route. It was all just smooth running, where it was hard for the safeties to kind of get a read on his hips to see what his next move was going to be. He's a natural hands catcher, which we already knew that. He has 10.5-inch hands, and he has almost a 7-foot wingspan. So that wasn't a surprise, but it's always good to see when the stats match the tape. He did struggle a little bit with blocking, but again, that was to be expected. He's 6'3", long arms, kind of awkward shape, not really built to be an inline blocker. Baron Young says Fairweather looks like old boy that became a rapper behind Witten. I'm assuming you're talking about Rico Gathers. Fairweather looks better than Rico, to be honest. Rico was 100% a traits guy. 100%. But it never showed on the field. Fairweather showed me on the field that the traits do match the tape. Yeah, Rico Gathers. Fairweather's going to make this a tough decision because the same thing I just said about Phil Maffa is the same thing I said about Fairweather. And let me check really quick to see how much special teams Fairweather played. Fairweather only played 7 special team snaps. So again, if you're the 4th tight end, I don't care how great you look on offense, you have to play special teams to make the roster because there's a strong chance you won't be seeing the field. Now, if Fairweather can somehow leapfrog Schoonmaker, because Schoonmaker last year was a key special teamer. So even though he was a 2nd-round pick, it wouldn't be necessarily unusual for Schoonmaker to be a core special team guy. So if Fairweather can show he's a better offensive player than Schoonmaker, there's a chance he could be the 4th tight end, but be a designated pass catching tight end consistently. But it's still a tough hill to climb because the 3 guys in front of him, I think, are pretty much locked in on the roster. And his only other hope would be if Brevin Spann-Ford gets put on the PUP list, which if Fairweather shows enough, the team could decide to put Brevin Spann-Ford on the PUP list just to buy them some more time to see what Fairweather has to offer, and then kind of figure things out later on down in the season. Tyler Neville was the complete opposite of Fairweather. Did not look smooth in his route running. He only ran, I counted 3 routes. Very good inline blocker. If by chance they decide not to keep Tyler Lepke, I could see Neville being treated like a fullback. Great move blocker, great inline blocker. Also, kind of concerning for Fairweather. Tyler Neville played every special team snap. He played all 6 special teams. Kickoff, kick return, punt return, field goal, and field goal block. I didn't say Hunter Lepke, Jeff. Did I say Tyler Lepke again? My mistake if I did. Hunter Lepke is who I meant. But yeah, Neville played all 6 special teams, and he led the team in special team snaps. He played 15 special team snaps. The next closest person to him played 11. So remember what I just said. If you're the 4th tight end, you're going to be relied on heavily to play special teams. And if Tyler Neville, while he didn't look good as a pass catcher, but he looked good as a blocker, and he played every special teams, that's almost a coin flip, regardless of how good Fairweather looked on offense. Maybe they can play strong enough to make the team keep 5 tight ends and maybe go short at, I don't know, wide receiver, perhaps. But Tyler Neville, while he didn't put anything on the stat sheet, he played a very, very solid game for what he was asked to do. So I would give the tight end position an A for sure. One guy was great in the passing game. One guy was great in everything else. All right, I see we got the Lunatic in the building tonight. Thank you for tuning in, the Lunatic. Appreciate you joining us. Appreciate you supporting us. Just like the Lunatic said, share, like, and sub. I see the likes and the views are almost identical. So thank you guys for being on top of that. Baron Young, Jeff says Fairweather will get that injury and stash. I would not be surprised to see that, Jeff. Oh, before I move on, I know we have a lot of John Stevens Jr. fans in the comments. I think that ship is officially sailed. Neville's a better blocker and special teamer, and Fairweather has shown that he's a better route runner and catcher. John Stevens has nothing else that he can do to compete with either one of them. And he's in his 3rd year, and he's shown to be injury prone. I hope there aren't a lot of John Stevens Jr.'s fans in the comments, because I think you're going to see your last 2 weeks of him as a Dallas Cowboy. And Baron Young, great point. The next game will show who's making the roster, who won't. But if 4 tight ends make the team, the fullback won't. I think they're going to keep a fullback because they did a lot of fullback running, a lot of eye back, off tackle blocking. But I could see Tyler Neville filling that role, and they're keeping 4 or 5 tight ends. And I almost think I didn't want to say it, but it's almost going to come down to, are we keeping 5 tight ends, or are we keeping 4 running backs and a fullback? And the Lunatic, I agree with you. They use him quite a bit in their running game. But again, just like Baron Young just said, Tyler Neville was a really good blocker, and he plays every special team. If he continues to do that, and he shows that he can be a blocker like a fullback, it's going to be a tough choice. And I don't think Lepke is going to be the one that comes out on top. I was just glancing really quick to see Lepke snaps. Yeah, because they were using Neville as a fullback in this game actually. Hunter plays special teams also, Jeff, but Tyler Neville in his first NFL game playing every preseason special team snap, that's eye-opening. You know what I talk about special teams. You can't ignore that. All right, last offensive position, and that is the wide receiver position. Man, it's going to be a tough choice at wide receiver. Every receiver on our team was wide open the whole game, from the top to the bottom. The problem was Milton could not get them the ball. The few times he did throw it, there were a lot of inaccurate passes. Flournoy should have had a touchdown. Mingo should have had either a 60-yard touchdown or a 40-yard catch, but Milton threw a bad ball. Jalen Tolbert should have had 3 catches this game, but he got 3 bad passes. It wasn't until the second half of the game when Milton started to settle down, and that's when Josh Kelly and Jalen Brooks and Trayshawn Holden came into the game. So they ended up looking a lot better than Mingo and Tolbert. Not taking anything about the plays they made, but a lot of that was because Milton looked really bad when the first receivers were out there, and he looked a lot better when the second receivers were out there. But I don't want to take anything away from Mingo and Tolbert. They were open. They were just getting bad throws. And Cropper as well. The Lunatic says, I'm keeping Holden looking to trade Tolbert or Mingo. I don't think Mingo has trade value. Tolbert may have some trade value because despite what Cowboys fans think of him, he did have 800 yards and 7 touchdowns last year. He could be a wide receiver 3 for pretty much any team in NFL. So if you're looking at a team like the Niners who are decimated at receiver, if the Texans rookies aren't stepping up like they should, the Patriots need receivers. The Panthers could always use a receiver. Who else? It's a bunch of teams out there who could use a quality number 3 receiver. The Vikings are going to lose Addison for the first couple of games of the week and of the season. I don't know who their number 3 receiver is. And Tolbert is still on a cheap contract. So if I'm looking for a trade, I think Tolbert's going to be the guy because he's a proven commodity. And you could probably flip him for a 4th round pick to kind of make up for the mistake with Mingo. Baron Young saying CD, Pickens, Ryan, Mingo, Turpin, Tolbert might be traded. I agree with you 100% just for all the things I just said. The Lunatic said Holden looking for heads and the others seem comfortable. I mean, Holden only made 1 play, but it was a hell of a play. So you got to give him credit for that. It was the second biggest play of the game behind Jalen Brooks. Baron Young, let me go back to this. And I'm going to keep putting this out there. And Aaron Alexander Bell, you must be a podcaster because you're about to say that you said the same thing I'm about to say. Jalen Brooks made plays on offense and he played well on special teams. He was actually the gunner and the jammer. And every offseason, I say this every week, if you play gunner, jammer, or personal protector, you're almost guaranteed a roster spot because those are the 3 most important positions on special teams. Jalen Brooks played gunner and jammer in the game. For those 2 reasons, I think you can lock him in as the 6th wide receiver, or they may keep 7. But I think based off that, he's going to be one of the guys. And he also made a couple of plays on offense as well. So I don't want to take anything from on the offensive side of the ball. Actually, I'm looking at the playtime percentage right now. Jalen Brooks played the most offensive snaps of any wide receiver. And he also played he was tied for the most special team snaps with Trayshawn Holden. But Jalen Brooks played gunner and snapper, so you got to give him a little bit higher tick because of the importance of those positions. Baron Young says, I put 5 because I think we keep 4 to 5 tight ends. We're going to talk about that during the 53-man roster breakdown. It's definitely going to be a battle between, do we keep a 6th receiver? Do we keep a 4th tight end? Do we keep a 5th running back? Do we keep a 4th tight end, 5th running back, 6th receiver? That's going to be the position battle, and it's going to come down to special teams. And like you said, it depends on what we do with that fullback position. Because if Tyler Neville can be an adequate pass catcher, but a great blocker and a great special teamer, I think he makes the position. He makes the decision for you. Before we go to the defensive side of the ball, since we're talking 53-man roster, I'm gonna keep saying this statement also. Number 1, if you make the practice squad, that is not a bad thing. There are guys who have played 7, 8, 10 years on practice squads. Number 2, guys that you think are roster locks aren't necessarily the case. And I will put Tyler Lepke. I said Tyler again, Jeff. I caught myself. Hunter Lepke in that category. The first reason, there are only 3 teams in the NFL that carry a fullback. The Cowboys, the Niners, the Ravens. The Ravens fullback is a Pro Bowler. The Niners fullback is a Pro Bowler. They're not looking to replace their fullback. So if you cut Hunter Lepke, there's nobody to pick him up. So he clears waivers. He comes back to the practice squad. That's a no-brainer. There's no competition of a team who's going to use a waiver pick to sign Hunter Lepke. Personally, I think he gets cut and he goes on the practice squad. And if there's a week where they can find a spot for him, they'll call him up as one of their 2 practice squad guys. Baron Young says, I thought the Niners released their guy. That was I'm almost sure they signed Kyle Juszczyk to a contract, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. Yeah. Kyle Juszczyk signed a $8 million contract this offseason, Baron Young. So they're not looking for another fullback. The one they have, they're paying him $8 million. They're paying him $4 million a year. Their fullback is making more than our starting running back. They're not looking for another one. And the Ravens love their fullback. There are no other teams out there looking for a fullback. So you can easily cut Hunter Lepke. He's going to clear waivers. And there are only 3 teams that need fullbacks. So he's going to go to our practice squad. It's a no-brainer. I would be shocked if it doesn't happen. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. We are at 55 minutes. So I'm going to run through the defense quickly. Let's see. We'll start off at defensive tackle and work our way back. Whew. Defensive tackle. None of our defensive tackles played well in my opinion. There was not a single guy that I would give a positive grade to. There was a lot of hype about Toia coming out of training camp. He got bullied the entire game. I want to let you guys know this. The Rams center is 6'1", 287. The center. We're talking Mark Stepnoski type size for you old school Cowboys fans. He was getting Jay Toia out the club by himself. and Toia has him by probably 5 inches and 50 pounds or more. He was getting thrown out of the club. I'll get to your comment in a second, Baron Young. When they double teamed him, he was getting washed out. When he did win, it was because he picked a side and rushed one side, but he left himself open and they ran right into the gap that he left open. And as the game progressed and you could see him start to wear down, it only got worse. Jay Toia was disappointing in this game. I can't even point out a positive snap in my opinion. Mozzie, now I know you said Mozzie was cheeks. Mozzie only played 10 snaps. And I'll be honest, out of 10 snaps, he only had one bad snap. Again, player development, player analysis. That's what I'm looking for in preseason. I will give Mozzie credit. He was not the last guy off the line of scrimmage consistently like he's been the last 3 years. His takeoff has definitely gotten better. His ability to handle double teams has gotten better. While he didn't make plays and he wasn't dominant, he did not get dominated. So those are positives for Mozzie. The problem is this was against the second team. And Mozzie's expected to be your starting nose tackle. And he did not make his presence felt as a starting nose tackle. I would have expected him to clog the gaps, maybe make a tackle, and bust the double teams or dominate one-on-one matchups. He didn't do any of that. He didn't get beat. I want to say that because I know people are going to kind of rag on him because there are certain podcasters who've already made up their minds that Mozzie's garbage, so they're never going to say anything positive about him. By the way, I'm one of those podcasters. I think he's a bad player. But I have to call a spade a spade. Mozzie did not have a bad game this week. It was good, but he was playing against second team guys, so I can't give him too much credit. Exactly. He's a first rounder playing in the first preseason game against backups, and he didn't make his presence felt. Yeah, exactly. You watched the same game I watched the Lunatic. He did not get beat. They ran away from him. But I would expect. Now, they did run at him one play. He didn't make the tackle, but he didn't get pushed out of the gap. So, again, he only played 10 snaps. But, again, it depends on what curve you're grading on, Baron Young. I can see where you're coming from because he's a first-round pick starting nose tackle playing against backups. I agree. But he didn't look – Jay Toia looked bad. And if anybody tells you otherwise, they're lying. And he's their pet cat, and they want to keep him looking good. He looked bad the whole game, from the first snap to the last snap. Mozzie played well, but it was against backups. So that's as much credit as I can give him. We had a couple of defensive ends playing a lot of defensive tackle in this game. Perion Winfrey, he's a better 3-tech than nose tackle. He's a little bit undersized. He has long arms. He tried to use them to his advantage to keep the guards off of him, but it was only so much he can do. I think he's a better 3-tech than nose tackle. Unfortunately, I think they're going to try to play him at nose tackle, which is going to be a problem. Yeah, I just talked about that, Jeff. Peyton Turner plays some defensive tackle. Ernest Brown IV, who I have no clue who that is, he's listed as a defensive end at 279. He played defensive tackle a lot. There were some snaps on the goal line on those first 2 touchdown runs where they had Ernest Brown and Peyton Turner playing as defensive tackles. Made absolutely no sense to me. But then earlier in the game, They had snaps where Mozzie and Toia were on the field at the same time. Makes no sense to me. Defensive tackle group did not look good at the nose tackle or the 3 tech. I mean, Denzel Daxon and Aking Basote came in later in the game. I mean, they were solid, but it was second half of the game. They were down almost 15. They were just guys running around, getting some reps. Nothing special. The guys I expected to see a lot from, I didn't see enough. Been hurt his whole career, just retired at this point. Baron Young didn't have a pressure, nothing granted, 10 snaps, but terrible. Don't get me started on Peyton getting hurt. Yeah. Again, I agree. If your first round pick nose tackle is playing in a game against backups, I expect to see one play where it's like, okay, this guy shouldn't be on the field with these guys. I didn't see that. But he did play well. But it doesn't give me any hope that when we go ones on ones, that he's going to be adequate nose tackle. So we need to get on the phone. I was shocked before I move on to linebacker and defensive end. I was shocked by how often Toia was blocked with one guy. It was surprising. And the one play when I saw that little ass center block him and basically get him out of the A gap, I was like, come on. And this guy got first team reps. I'm hoping it was nerves. Let's just hope game 2 shows us a lot more. All right, let's go to the defensive end position. Now, the defensive end position was a tough position to grade. In my opinion, watching the All-22, the defensive ends played very good. Tyrus Wheat was solid. He held the point of attack. He set the edge. He was getting pressure. Both defensive ends were getting pressure. I know the stat sheet didn't show it, but if you watch the All-22, you will see that the defensive ends were consistently getting in the backfield. The problem was the cornerbacks were getting beat so quick that the quarterback only had to hold the ball for 2 seconds. If we could have got the quarterback to hold the ball for 3.5 seconds, we would have probably had about 3 sacks this game. Easily. And I saw 2 holding calls that were missed when Donovan Ez was basically beat the tackle on the inside and the tackle just suplexed him. And there was not a holding call. So we should have had 3 sacks and a holding call in this game. But a combination of the refs holding the whistle and the cornerbacks just getting beat immediately made all that pressure for nothing. Now, Donovan Ez, and I talked about this when I talked about him in my draft analysis, he has a tendency to rush hard on the inside and leave the outside open. The Rams ran bootlegs quite a bit, and Donovan lost contained because he was beating the tackle so bad inside that the quarterback was able to go outside and have an open pocket. So, again, the stats didn't show it, but the defensive ends, in my opinion, played very well. And like Jeff said before, a couple of defensive ends had to line up at defensive tackle: Tyrus Wheat, Ernest Brown, Peyton Turner. I mean, there was nothing good that came out of that. If I had to say which one looked the most natural inside, it was probably Ernest Brown, but he has no shot of making this roster. So, I mean, basically just a wash. But we got to get some nose tackles. We need to bring in a nose tackle who can play 40% of the snaps, and Perion Winfrey should be our backup 3 tech. Now, we didn't get to see Solomon Thomas. Hopefully we get to see him this week, and we get to see a little bit of what he can do as a nose tackle. But I was not impressed by the guys who played on Saturday. All right, now we go to a positive position. We had a couple of positive positions on offense. This one was a no-brainer on defense. That linebacker group was impressive. Every one of them. Well, all but one. Leofau, from the first snap to his last snap, he was all over the place. He made his presence felt that game. And he was only in for how many snaps did Leofau play? He played 20 snaps. So basically the first 3 drives. And I mean, he was reading the gaps. You can definitely see the second year he's processing things better. He played fast, just like Baron Young said. Played with a lot of confidence, played with physicality, played with strength. He was the first one at the ball whenever there was a run play. I mean, he was good in space, good on special teams. I mean, Leofau had an A+ game. And going back to defensive ends, I would give the defensive ends a B+. I would give the defensive tackles an F. It was bad. It was really bad. But Leofau, A+ game. When Leofau came out of the game, Darius Harris really picked up the slack. I mean, at one point, I didn't know Leofau was out of the game. Darius Harris was all over the place. I mean, he was making plays in the pass game, in the run game. He was filling gaps when the defensive tackles were getting beat. I mean, unfortunately, the defensive tackles were getting beat so bad that he wasn't able to make as many plays as he could have made. But he was definitely there, and he was impressive. Buddy Johnson also played well. Also, all of our linebackers who played the majority of the snaps played good. Now, then we go to the not so good. And Jeff, that special teams play he made was priceless. And he is going to continue to play special teams, I think, because I think our starting 2 linebackers are pretty much set. And your 3rd and 4th linebackers are going to have to play special teams. Damone Clark, he was up and down. I mean, I think he only played 12 snaps. He played 12 snaps. I got it right. I would probably say 5 good snaps, 5 bad snaps, 2 or so. And he played a lot of special teams. So he's going to have to make his mark on special teams as that 4th linebacker. But I think Darius Harris is probably going to have a lot to say about that if he continues to grow off of the game he had. Because Darius Harris played pretty much the majority of the game. And there wasn't a lot of bad there. Really wasn't any bad. It was either good or he wasn't being noticed, which is also a good thing. Shamar James, everything I said in my draft analysis was relevant. He was the mic guy. He was pointing stuff out. But when the ball got snapped and they ran in the A-gap, he was getting knocked out of the club. Now, some of that was because the defensive tackles were getting beat and the guard was able to get to the second level. But he was getting dominated out of the gaps. And because of that, the safeties had to make a lot of tackles to help Shamar James when he was in the game. So that takes me to the next position. We'll go safety, then we'll go corner. So safety position. Zion Childress was everything I thought he would be. He played nickel back. He played free safety. He played a little bit of strong safety. He led the team in tackles. He got tackles in the backfield. He was solid in coverage. Everything that I saw from him from Kentucky, it translated into game 1. He may have been our best secondary player of the game. And he played the 5th most snaps. And he played the second most special team snaps. And I believe he may have been the gunner opposite Jalen Brooks. I have to go back and look at that. But I'm almost certain he may have been the other gunner. So if he's the gunner and he's making tackles and he's playing corner and safety, you can pretty much lock him in for one of those spots. And it's going to make it hard for one of our cornerbacks because of his position flex. And we'll talk about the cornerbacks in a minute. The other safety was Elijah Clark. Elijah Clark played decent. He definitely had a few mental errors. There were a couple of plays where the receivers got behind him. One play was a deep ball that the quarterback overthrew that should have been like a 40-yard touchdown. That was on Elijah Clark. And then there was another play. It was a touchdown catch. I think it was like a 5-yard throw in the corner. And it looked like him and Mukwamu got confused. And looking at the all-22, to me, it looked like it was Clark's fault. It looked like when the quarterback did the play action, he may have left his zone, and that allowed that tight end to get open. But he was a solid tackler. He was second on the team in tackles. Didn't mind coming up and filling the gap, even though he was having to tackle guys 7-8 yards downfield. Also, like I said, Mukwamu played between safety and corner as well. He got the big interception, the only turnover in the game. Solid game from Mukwamu. I think him and Childress, I would probably put Childress over him in terms of nickel corner. But Mukwamu showing that he can make a play on the ball is definitely going to put him as a leg up over some of these other guys that played. All right, so last but not least, we have the cornerback position. And I almost want to shake my head for them as much as I did for the defensive tackles. The cornerbacks consistently gave up separation. There was not a point in the game where a wide receiver didn't have at least a yard of separation from a corner. Even the interception Mukwamu got, he was beat by about 2 or 3 yards. Luckily, the quarterback underthrew the ball, and Mukwamu, being 6'4", was able to go and make a play on the ball in the air. If that quarterback would have thrown the same pass that he threw on 4th and 6 against Andrew Booth, that would have been a touchdown. But I give credit where credit is due. Mukwamu recovered well. He made a play when given the opportunity. So, got to take the good with the bad. All of our corners showed a lack of ball skills, except for Mukwamu. I mean, nobody was within a yard of receivers at any point in time. The quarterback was basically playing 7-on-7 out there. 2-step drop, throw the ball. Bootleg, as soon as he gets to turn back towards the line of scrimmage, a guy's wide open. 3rd and 5, throw an out route. 4th and 6, 40-yard bombs. 1st and 10, 15-yard post. It was whatever they wanted to do out there. And Jeff already said it. The top 2 culprits were, the top 3 culprits, honestly, were Andrew Booth, which they got him out of there pretty quick after those 2 horrible plays. Smith, the undrafted rookie. I don't know why he played so many snaps, but he was out there a lot and he was getting beat. And also Robert Rochelle. He didn't play a lot of snaps either because he looked bad and they got him out of there. So then they had to throw in Harmon and Troy Pride and a bunch of other guys. And none of them picked up the slack. I was disappointed in the cornerback position. Extremely. Let's see. Somebody asked a question a while ago. Let's see. I had a comment pinned. There we go. Lee Hairston asked the question if Stephon Gilmore is coming back. After looking at this game, I would be shocked if he's not on the roster by week 3. He doesn't need to get any snaps. He's a veteran. He knows the system. I think they got him on speed dial. Personally, and I said this before, when you're a veteran like Stephon Gilmore and you play a skill position that involves a lot of running and you're 33 years old, you don't want to go to training camp because you see no point in it. You're basically playing the game from the neck up at this point. Why would you go out there and risk running around and just putting wear and tear on your body when you don't have to? So I think Stephon Gilmore not being on the team is more of him than teams not wanting him. And I still believe that Dallas is at the top of the list. I just think they're waiting for Gilmore to say, okay, I'm ready to come back when I don't have to practice. And Jeff asked the question, why is Booth still in the league? I don't think you're going to have to ask that question in 2 weeks, Jeff. Kind of like what I said with Ernest Brown, because I see no shot of Booth making this roster. And with the bad tape he's put out in the past 3 seasons, I don't see anybody taking a chance on him. I mean, he'll be lucky if he can make somebody's practice squad. But he looks bad. And I'm a Clemson fan. And he was one of my favorite corners coming out of college that year. And I'm highly disappointed. I can't even say anything positive about him. And you guys know how I try to hype up Clemson fans. If you remember, Mitch Hyatt had to bring that name out of the closet. Yeah, might as well sign Gilly after preseason. This cornerback room's truly lacking. I agree. Again, I think we're at the top of the list. I think he does not want to practice. So he's going to just sit at home and train on his own, stay in shape. And then when there's no chance him having to go out there and go through walkthroughs or two-a-days or film room and stuff like that, I say he comes in. Because there's very few teams he'll have to go into where he'll have to take a long time to get acclimated to the scheme. Because he's just that smart of a veteran and that talented. Okay, so that's pretty much all I have for this week's show. Before I go, I do want to say this. Week 2, there are several players that I'm paying close attention to if I'm a Cowboys fan. Number 1, I'm going offense then defense. Number 1, I'm paying attention to Joe Milton. The first quarter looked awful. The second quarter looked bad. The third and fourth quarters look good. Can he build off of the second half of this game and get some more consistency? Player number 2, I'm watching Phil Maffa. He showed me a lot this week. I would probably suspect this week, if the starters play, you'll probably see Javonte Williams first quarter mixed in with Miles Sanders or Jaden Blue if they're playing. If it's Williams and Maffa, which I think might be the case, we're going to be able to get to see an apples to apples comparison of 2 guys with a very similar running style. So I'm paying attention to Phil Maffa to see how he looks running behind the same offensive line in the same system as Javonte Williams. Because I don't think Blue's going to play this week with a bone bruise. And Miles Sanders, he better take a shot. But I think it's going to be up in the air to see him. So I'm really paying attention to Phil Maffa. I'm paying close attention to Nathan Thomas playing against starting caliber defensive ends. And the Ravens have as an athletic defensive end group as anybody. So he's definitely going to get tested. Let's see on the offensive side of the ball. I'm going to pay attention to, I think you have to see Trayshawn Holden get on the field a little bit sooner this week. So I'm going to pay attention to him getting some second quarter snaps. I'm also going to pay attention to Flournoy because, again, Flournoy was beating guys. He just wasn't getting good balls thrown to him. So I'm going to see if he can recover from this week's game. On the defensive side of the ball, can those defensive tackles improve? We're going to see Mozzie against ones. Can Jay Toia step up from that horrific display he gave us last week? And again, there are going to be a lot of podcasters out there who are going to deflect and say Mozzie had a bad game. They're going to deflect and say Toia looked solid. Toia looked awful, plain and simple. And I'm a Toia fan, huge Toia fan. He looked awful. I need to see him produce. Great one, Robert King. Booker, if he plays, his first taste of NFL snaps. So you definitely got to pay attention to that. Back to the defensive side of the ball. I haven't seen our starting linebacker, so I'm interested to see how they look. I'm going to watch Zion Childress and Mukwamu because I think they're going to transition a lot between safety and corner. So I think they're going to get more snaps this week, both of them. So I'm going to see who actually looks better at what position. Last but not least, when you go to special teams, I want you guys to pay attention to this. Who's playing gunner? Who's playing jammer? Who's playing personal protector? And personal protector is on the punt team. You got the line, then you got the kick, the punter, and then you got a guy standing between them. That's the personal protector. In this game where you're going to see starters, if you see Mukwamu as the personal protector, his roster spot is secured. If you see Jalen Brooks as the gunner and the jammer with CJ Goodwin playing, his roster spot is secured. Then we can come on here after the game and we can try to shuffle the deck, shuffle the cards, knowing that Mukwamu and Brooks are secured to see who else is going to be on the chopping block because those guys are going to take somebody's spot. So we got a lot to look forward to this week. I wouldn't expect to see the starters in more than 3 drives, maybe a full quarter. And then after that, we're going to have an opportunity to see who's moved up the roster to get more looks and who's moved down the roster because they didn't perform well. So we got a lot to pay attention to this week. Another Saturday game. So some great football on a Saturday leading up to the season. I may go live during the game. You never know. I'll watch it on NFL Plus and then just kind of give you guys my thoughts as we go through it. It's hard for me to watch NFL games and not throw stuff, but it's preseason. So again, I have to remind myself it's player development and it's player analysis. So I'm watching to see who looks good and who looks bad and not mad because we're down 20 points. And I hate to give my game prediction away, but the Ravens are really good in the preseason. So that's pretty much all I got for this week's show. Oh, I got to show you guys this. Give me 1 second. Because I feel like this is something really good that nobody really talks about. Give me 1 second. Okay. I know it's kind of small font, but if you go to NFL.com and then you click on the game, let me stop sharing this screen and share another one. Give me 1 second. Got a lot of moving parts going on. All right, because I really want you guys to see this. So, if you go to NFL.com and you find a game like this, the Cowboys game, right? If you scroll, you will see like they'll show you first quarter. You can see a play-by-play of the plays. If you go to the very bottom of this is preseason or regular season, you will see something right here that says download game book. So if you download the game book, this is a wealth of knowledge for fans who are into statistics. So it's going to start off, and I wish I could zoom in more. Let me see if I can zoom in more. Okay, so this is a game book, and they do this for every single game. So it's going to show you who the officials are. It's going to show you who the starters are. It's also going to show you everybody who subbed into the game. And then it'll also tell you the people who did not play. So if you're wondering who was inactive in a game or who was out, it's a pretty big list right now because it's preseason. But if it was the regular season, it'd only be like 7 or 8 names right here. So on top of that, you get to see quarter by quarter who scored, what, and when. And then it gets more interesting as you go down. Now, right here, you get to see scoring drives. So you get to see who scored what and how they scored. So if you want to go back and find a play, you can see exactly the quarter, what time the play happened, and who did it. So you can see right here. So if you want to go back and say, when did Fairweather catch that touchdown? It was in the fourth quarter at 8 minutes and 48 seconds. So now you don't have to play guesswork with, I want to watch a specific play. How do I find it? This sheet gives you all the scoring plays. So you can get the quarter and what time period. All right, you keep scrolling down. You want to see everybody's stats? Everybody's stats are right here in one place. Rushing, passing, receiving. Then you go to defense, interceptions, punts, punt return. All that good stuff is right here in the download in the game book. You keep scrolling down. It's just a lot of good stuff in here. So if you want to see how many total first downs a team had, was it by rushing? Was it by passing? How many penalties? Third down efficiency, rushing yards, attempts. It has everything. And then it gets even better. And this is for the diehard fans like me who just like to look up stats and kind of know when people are talking. Also, you can call people out on their BS who come on podcast and say crap and it's completely false. There's a game book that's readily available for anybody to watch that tells you exactly ball possessions and drive charts. You can see where drives began, how many plays. So if you want to see 14 play drive, 73 yards, you want to focus on that drive, you can. So it gets more and more interesting. As you can see, Zion Childress led the team in tackles. All the stats are right here. Let me go to the bottom because this is the one I use all the time. Because I know I'm probably losing a lot of people who aren't interested in this. But they give you a full play-by-play. It gets even better. So if you want to see a full play-by-play of every drive, it'll tell you exactly who did what. So again, if you want to see Deuce Vaughn's 2 runs, 2nd and 4, 14 minutes and 18 seconds. Deuce Vaughn left in 8 yards. Deuce Vaughn left in 6 yards. It even shows you who made the tackle on the play. So a ton of information right here. And then if you go to the very bottom, I just quit going through all this stuff. I've talked about it enough. It just keeps giving knowledge. The 10 longest plays for the Cowboys. So if during the regular season, I'll tell you guys, I'm going to put a game film together of the top 10 plays. Or let's say the Cowboys got the ball ran all over them. And I'm going to point out the 5 biggest plays. I'll come here and I'll go to the 10 longest plays. And they're all right here. I can find them. How many yards? what the timestamp is. It's all right here. And then I go to the very bottom, playtime percentage. This will tell you who played on offense, how many snaps they played on offense, and how many snaps they played on defense. So when people try to tell you, well, somebody's a key special teams player, like I was talking about Phil Maffa earlier. As you can see, Phil Maffa played 58% of the offensive snaps. He played the 7th most snaps on offense. He played 0 special team snaps. So somebody may try to say, well, Phil Maffa's a great special teams player. He didn't play any special team snaps. How do you know that? I talked about Tyler Neville. As you can see right here, he played 15 special team snaps. If you look on the chart, nobody else on offense played more than 9 special team snaps. I'm sorry, 7. So he played twice as many special team snaps as the next highest player. And that was Jalen Marino Cropper, who has no chance of making this roster. That stands out to me. And this is what I look at when I'm looking at special teams. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball. A guy like Tyrus Wheat, he led the team in defensive snaps, and he played a decent number of special team snaps. Rule of thumb for me, I'm looking at the guys who play more than 45% of the special team snaps, because those are the guys who are what I would consider true special teamers. So Harmon and Pride, I'm going to pay close attention to them. Mukwamu's pretty high. That tells me he's going to be a core guy. Shamar James played 50% of special team snaps, along with Darius Harris. I'm going to pay close attention to them. Zion Childress played 46% of special team snaps. I'm going to pay close attention to him. So this just gives you a wealth of knowledge of things that you want to know when you're analyzing the NFL game. And I mean, it's all on one sheet, so it's easy to call back on. So if somebody says somebody had a hell of a first quarter, you can go right here and see every play of the first quarter. If you missed a play and you want to say after the game, you're trying to watch the replay back and you can't make out the number, you can come right here and see who made those plays. I did this quite a bit the past couple of years when, for example, there were a lot of people who were saying the big defensive tackle from Kentucky was making a lot of plays, when actuality it was the defensive tackle next to him. And I easily came right here and saw all the tackles that people thought were going to Big Bohanna, and they were actually going to, I can't remember the defensive tackle's name right now. But yeah, this gives you a ton of information after the game if you want to just go back and analyze. I keep all of these during the season just to go back and refresh my memory on who did what in certain games. And these come out every week. They're completely free. Just find the game, click on it, and then scroll to the very bottom. Donald Ford Jr., thank you for joining us. We pretty much spent the whole show talking about the first preseason game. I hate that you came in late, but if you don't mind, go back and watch the first 50 minutes of the show where I kind of gave a full breakdown of all the positions. And I kind of talked about what I'm looking for next week. So speaking of next week, make sure you guys join us every Wednesday night at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. We still got some guests joining us before we hit the regular season. We're getting in the regular season form. I got a bunch of fantasy football leagues coming up, so I'm going to be doing all my fantasy football drafts live. So if you guys want to come and help me draft my team, or you just want to learn more about fantasy football, feel free to join me on those live streams, and we can talk some Cowboys football in between as well. So thank you guys for joining. Again, everybody brought in the comments. I appreciate you guys tuning in. The show went an hour and a half. It's kind of long for one of our shows, so I appreciate the views staying fairly consistent, especially everybody watching from X. Thank you guys for all your support. And Hopefully we have a good game this week against the Ravens. I'm personally not expecting it, but you never know. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you tuning in. And as always, let's go Cowboys. I'll see you guys next Wednesday.